Hi everyone, this is Dan, and today going to be looking at vintage football. I'd say mainly vintage. There's a couple of a little bit more modern players in there, but nothing too modern. Maybe some stuff from the 80s or 90s. Have a couple PSA cards, and most of them are SGCs. Start, here's a James Lofton, great wide receiver, an 8, PSA 8. And tight end, Ozzie Newsome. Also a PSA 8, cool card. Like that set. It's also the same set as Earl Campbell. This one is kind of a neat, I don't know what to call it. It's a, saw this and I thought it would be kind of neat to buy. It is a photograph of Marvin Lewis just kind of sketching out a play. So that's sort of neat, has his signature up there, but it was sort of interesting. Bengals coach. Now onto the SGC stuff, a little bit more, some older stuff. Mel Blount, cornerback for the Steelers. There's Terry Bradshaw. It's a 4.5 SGC. Pretty young guy. Still see him, kind of neat to still see him on the air. Wasn't one of my favorite players, but had to respect the Steelers. They were great, him and Lynn Swan. It's a 74 tops of Bradshaw there. It's a 7. That's the same year as I think the Ray Guy rookie. I was watching a video saying that was kind of a neat card. Remember him as a kicker. Earl Campbell, obviously an amazing running back, very short career, but hell of a guy. I think he only actually has 2 licensed top sports cards from his playing days. This one and the record breaker card. Not sure why, but that's all he had. Have a few of those. Had a 6.5, 5.5, and a 4.5. Kind of went downhill, but still like those. If anyone's interested in ever trading, feel free to leave a comment. Would be interested in trading some cards and things like that. Selling, obviously, you got to pay a lot of fees. So if you have something I want, I have something you want, it could work out. Larry Zonka, I like that card. 6.5. I was nervous when I received this. I got it raw and got it graded, and they said that it had been, I had it sitting in a safe for about 15 years, and when I bought it, they said they had it in a, they call it a screw down. They had it in there for years, so thought by then the screw downs you always hear kind of damage the card, but it looks like it kind of flattened it out, and it's a decent card. I like it. Stayed in quite good condition. Larry Zonka. Curly Culp, I believe he may have recently passed away. The defensive tackle, 73. Eric Dickerson, a bit of a newer card. This 84 rookie. Tony Dorsett. This is really off center. Got the 5. It's kind of crisp, but way off center. Maybe one day might get a better version of that, a better centered version. I like that. The 78 set. Here's John Elway. It's an 84 rookie, only a 7.5. Some of those didn't grade that well. Dan Fouts, my brother, kind of imitating as he'd throw those bullets. Great quarterback and a good announcer. Guy would throw hard, throw some bullets. Next up, Mean Joe Green, 71, same year as Bradshaw. I think that they got Joe Green on defense and Bradshaw on offense, same year. He was the guy, if you also remember the old Coke commercials when I think it was Coke, that he would throw the kid the shirt. The little boy gave him the Coke, bottle of Coke, and he returned the jersey to him. So it was kind of a cute commercial back from the day. Greenwell, 1960 tops, Forrest Gregg, tackle, Hall of Famer. And someone I didn't know that much about was just sort of reading about Hall of Famers and would look up some of their cards and generally would buy them raw. And I got these many years ago, but they stayed in decent condition. Definitely not a newer card, but like Gronk. I'm a Pats fan, so got to have my Gronk rookie. Fortunately, didn't get a 10, but I still think it's a cool card. He's an entertaining guy. John Hanna, the offensive player. I was looking on offensive lineman, a guard that I think he was the first Patriots player to make it into the Hall of Fame. I wanted to get that. That'd be one I wouldn't mind getting a nicer copy of, but I guess they don't have to be great. It's just a card that you kind of enjoy and can look back and remember the Pats before they were. Everyone always says, you know, when you're a New England fan or Boston fan, you know, they've obviously done really well over the last 20 years or so, but before that, when they, you know, the Sox in the 70s and the Bruins and certainly the Patriots, the Steve Grogan days, they weren't doing that great. Franco Harris, amazing running back for the Steelers there, and they had quite a team. You think of who everyone they had, and they had Franco Harris and guys we already saw, Terry Bradshaw and Lynn Swann and Mean Joe Green. Willie Lanier, not sure if I'm saying that correctly, don't know too much about him. Steve Largent, wish I had a better version of that. That's something I might get. Thought it was actually decent looking. It was maybe a little problem on the side there, but a nice card. Steve Largent was a, remember seeing him and Jim Zorn playing. Jim Zorn, the left-handed quarterback for the Seahawks, thrown to him. This card I really like. This is Night Train Lane's rookie. Got two of these, a 3.5 and a 4.5. It's one of those cards that's quite inexpensive, and you know, arguably one of the best cornerbacks of all time. They said he would just destroy people. Like I'm reading it, they're like, he's a ferocious tackler, and I think this is when they had fewer games. I think he had like 17 interceptions in I don't know, like 14 games or 15 games, however many games they played. But Night Train Lane, gotta admit, probably like him a lot for that nickname too. Can't get a much better nickname than Night Train. There's a 4.5. You can see definitely on the top there's a little wrinkling and some creases there, but still a nice looking copy from 1957. So same set as the Johnny Unitas, and I think several other, Bart Starr maybe in that set also. Certainly a newer one, but I really like Von Miller, so picked this up. It's out of 99. It's a rookie. Purple. I thought purple was kind of fitting. Purple refractor for someone in the Broncos gear, which is also purple. So it's a neat little shiny card. Definitely like my shiny cards, as well as liking the vintage stuff. This guy was brutal, and was reading about him. He was just like a machine. I think this is the first year. It's not as, he looks pretty damn old at that point, but I mean, say he would live life recklessly. And there's another rookie that he has that's super expensive. It's like Lake by Lake or something like that, some brand that I had never heard of before. But I was just looking at some of his cards and reading about him. Amazing player. 63 tops. Alan Peags, Purple People Eaters. Kind of a cool looking card. They were dominant during that era. Next to a little more modern. This one's pretty off center as Topps Chrome, Troy Polamalu rookie. I really liked him. And also have a Topps Finest rookie of him also. I actually got a 10, one of the few 10s. Don't have too many of them, but it's a nice, crisp, clean looking card from 2003. I don't hear much about him anymore besides doing, I think he does hair commercials sometimes, but an amazing player. Jerry Rice, somewhat of an iconic card. Only got a 7 on that one, but it's a cool looking card. Like Rice, and also a small collection of Randy Moss. All those are raw cards though. John Riggins, a couple of these. Another awesome running back. It's kind of neat to get some of these cards. Vintage football, obviously not super expensive, especially if you buy it raw. And got a decent deal on grading, so I happen to grade. Usually I wouldn't probably grade anywhere. A lot of these I certainly wouldn't grade paying the normal price, but kind of got a good one-time deal. Barry Sanders, the famous score rookie. He was amazing. When you start seeing his highlights on YouTube, it's absurd how good he was. To think that the Lions had Barry Sanders and they had Calvin Johnson a few years later. He is just amazing. Great player. A few more here. I have Barry Sanders, the Topps traded. And these are, especially buying them raw, they're not very expensive, and you can get someone that was that amazing. That score set had Deion Sanders and some other players. It's a Deion. This next one, I almost feel like I should get rid of it. Sort of somewhat cursed. OJ, and I got this years ago, so I think I got it I think how to put it delicately, but pre-murder, I guess, would probably be the best way to put it. But great running back. Still kind of a decent looking card, and who knows. It's the back of it. That's OJ. We were watching, was a Naked Gun, and he was in those, we saw those movies, very funny movies with Leslie Nielsen, and OJ's in there, and I was watching it with my wife, and they have some scenes with him, and she's like, is that OJ Simpson? It's like, yes, that is in fact OJ Simpson in a slapstick comedy. Emmitt Smith is a cool card, very underrated player. Him and Barry Sanders, they're just amazing, and quarterbacks got a lot of the credit, but they're neat guys. I have a lot of their raw cards also. They're just fun to look through. John Stallworth, one of my few higher grade cards, wide receiver, Hall of Famer, the 9. Dick Stanfel, again, another guy I don't know too much about, but sorry, was a Hall of Famer, so just picked up a few of those raw because I was able to grade. Next two, player that I really liked, we were always imitating him as a kid, Lynn Swann. He was good. That's funny when you read about him later on, like he's one of those guys that might not be considered as great as we recall them. I think it's just that he was on an amazing team, still an amazing player, amazing wide receiver, but not sure if he is as much of one of the all-time greats, like the Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, maybe just a step below them, but cool card from 75. Got two of those in the 7s. Was glad they both got pretty good grades. Kind of fitting these next two guys are next to each other. Lawrence Taylor, LT. Ferocious, probably the most feared defensive player maybe of all time. I have two of those, both in 8s. It's always, that card always looks a little blurry, but that was a neat card. And these are all alphabetically, you may have noticed. I think who comes after Taylor? Joe Theismann, which, feel bad for Theismann. He got, obviously, his career was ended. That gruesome injury after being sacked by Lawrence Taylor. These cards always grade really well for some reason, the 75. So both of those are 8s. He's not a Hall of Famer, but not sure how many more years he would have played had he not been injured so bad. But still a really good player. And down to the last 3. Really good. This is one of my favorite cards, Johnny Unitas. The rookie looked pretty sharp. There is a little bit of a crease in it. That's why they got it. But it's one of those nice 2.5s. Probably wouldn't spend much more. But again, got it raw. Had it graded. Didn't think I would get a great grade, but I just wanted to keep it safe. Has the snow on it, but that 57 set is amazing. The close-up, kind of the portrait, and the playing position. Just a great card. There's the back of it. Johnny Unitas. Peyton Manning really looked up to him. And kind of neat to have that card. Amazing wide receiver, Paul Warfield. Again, someone that I read a lot about. And I love that. That's such a nice, clean-looking card, too, with the little NFL logo in the lower right-hand corner. It's nice and clean. I think that's a great card. It's cool looking. I like kind of when they have those action photos. Looks like it would have been better than a 5. The brand is sort of interesting. It's called a Philadelphia, but really like that card. And he's amazing when you're probably one of the top receivers of all time when you start reading about him. And last one, Mike Webster, who tragically had CTE, and I believe, brain injuries, pretty severe brain injuries. And I think the movie that they did about that, a lot of the research that the NFL started doing, or granted, NFL probably didn't do it, but outside doctors were doing some research on brain injuries. He was one of the more severe and may have been one of the first ones. So that's it. That's some of my vintage football. So I appreciate you watching, and have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.